Good morning students, hope all of you are fine. Beta, in this lecture also we will continue with chapter 4 of civics, and name of the chapter is working of institutions. Till now we have discussed that how the office memorandum is framed, which people are considered as the decision makers. With that we also discussed about the what is the need for political institution. So the today's topic that we are going to discuss, that is the parliament. As we have discussed about this topic in the previous classes also. So as we know that parliament, it is the main political institution in any democracy. So like we know that this chapter was started with the example of a office memorandum, right? So during that office memorandum, what was the role of the parliament? Perhaps not. But since this decision was not taken by the parliament, but you might think that the parliament had no role in it. But let us go back to the story and see whether parliament figures in it. Let us recall the points made earlier by completing the following sentences. Because beta, like I discussed earlier also, whenever we just want a new law in the country, then a bill is presented in the parliament. So in this office memorandum also parliament role was there. Like now these few sentences are given. The report of the Mandal Commission was discussed. Where it was discussed? In Parliament. The President of India mentioned this in his address to the both houses of Parliament. The Prime Minister made a declaration in the Parliament. So the decision was not directly taken in the Parliament, but parliamentary discussions on the report influence and shape the decision of the government. They brought pressure on the government to act on the Mandal recommendation. As we know that Mandal recommendation was formed in 1979, and in 1980 it just prepared its report. So, but to implement this, it was presented in Parliament. They brought pressure on the government to act on the Mandal recommendation. And if the Parliament was not in favor of this decision, the government could not have gone ahead with it. Can you guess why? As I was telling you that in earlier classes we have also read, because every proposal, it should be accepted in both the houses of parliament, and it should get the approval of the cabinet decision. Only then it can be implemented in the country. So now the next topic that we are discussing, that is the why do we need a parliament in a democratic country? Why do we need it? In all democracies, an assembly of elected representatives exercises supreme political authority on behalf of the people. As you know, the electing of representative, it is the basic, it is the foundation of democracy. And all these elected representatives, they exercise the political authority. So in India, such a National Assembly of elected representative is called Parliament. So beta, this is the definition of Parliament. That an assembly of elected representative exercises supreme political authority on behalf of people, and this National Assembly of elected representative is called Parliament. And at the state level, this is called legislature or the legislative assembly. The name may vary in different countries, but such an assembly exists in every democracy. It exercises political authority on behalf of the people in many ways. Now, how the authority, how the political authority on behalf of the people is exercised. Now all these points are mentioned. The very first point is Parliament is the final authority for making laws in any country. This task of lawmaking or legislation is so crucial that these assemblies are called legislatures. Parliaments all over the world can make new laws, change the existing laws, or abolish existing laws and make new ones in their place. And all these powers, these lies with the parliament. Now the next point is parliaments all over the world exercise some control over those who run the government. In some countries like India, this control is direct and full. Those who run the government can take decisions only so long as they enjoy support of the parliament. As you know that in India there are 543 Lok Sabha seats. It means 543 MPs are there from the various seats, from the various constituencies. But the गवर्नमेंट इज रन बाय फ्यू. जो हमारा कैबिनेट होता है, काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स होता है, दे जस्ट एक्सरसाइज कंट्रोल ऑल द पावर, बट on them also there is a direct control of other MPs also. So that is why this is written that the government can take decision only by the support of parliament. Now the third point is parliaments control all the money that government have. In most countries, any of the public money can be spent only when the parliament sanction it. As you know, the money is collected through the taxes. So, but it could not be spent as per the wishes of the political leaders. So, parliament is the highest forum of discussion and debate on public issues and national policy in any country. Parliament can seek information about any matter. So this was the importance of parliament, that how the parliament exercise the supreme political authority on behalf of the people. Now the next topic is about the two houses of parliament. As we know, the two houses of parliament are the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And as we know, the parliament plays a central role in modern democracies. Most large countries divide the role and powers of the parliament in two parts. They are called chambers or houses. One house is usually directly elected by the people and exercises the real power on behalf of the people. And the second house is usually elected indirectly and performs some special functions. And if we use this in context to Indian politics, there are Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. These are the two houses. And in Lok Sabha, MPs are directly elected, and in Rajya Sabha, they are indirectly elected. In our country, the parliament consists of two houses. The two houses are known as the Council of State, Rajya Sabha, and the House of the People, Lok Sabha. The President of India is a part of the parliament, although she is not a member of either house. That is why all laws made in the houses come into force only after they receive the assent of the President. Like I told you earlier also, any proposal, even when it is accepted by the both houses of parliament, then also if President denied to write it, it cannot become an law. Like we have read about the Indian Parliament in earlier classes from the chapter. So like we know that how Lok Sabha elections take place. So we can just find out some key differences between the composition of these two houses. So this is very important topic that differentiate between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the same question, the same matter we have read in class 8 also, right? The first thing that arise in our mind, that is the what is the total number of members, right? So the total number of members in Lok Sabha, it is 552, and in Rajya Sabha it is 250. Who elects the member? Members of Lok Sabha, those are elected by the people, and Rajya Sabha members, they are indirectly elected. What is the length of the term in years? Beta, in Lok Sabha the duration is 5 years, and for Rajya Sabha members it is 6 years. Can the house be dissolved or it is permanent? So we have the answer of this question also. Beta, Lok Sabha, it is a temporarily body, because after every 5 years new representatives are elected. But Rajya Sabha, it is a permanent body. After every 3 years fresh elections are held. 1/3 of the members, they just retire, and in lieu of that fresh elections are held for them just to fill those seats. It means it is not dissolved completely. That is why Rajya Sabha is known as a permanent house. So beta, this was the topic about the two houses of parliament and differentiation between them. So hope all of you have understood the topic. Thank you and have a nice day.